Hey there everyone! The question was asked on Facebook, how do I add a center divider pocket to a bag? So I'm going to show you how to do that today. We're using the Fairhaven as an example, and I'm going to show you how to measure for it just in case you have a different bag that you want to add the center divider to. So you can see here that we have a center divider in this bag. So you still have the lining like you normally would, and just attach, and this is attached in the center. You have this divider, and it is a pocket divider, so it's nice and big. You can fit all sorts of stuff in there. So I'm going to show you how to measure for it, and then I'm going to show you how to sew it. Okay, so first let's talk about how to measure for this. Here is the Fairhaven lining piece, and this is just a flat piece that you attach zipper pockets to and slip pockets to, and of course it has the bottom boxed corner. So when you measure for this, because the Fairhaven has these corners that jut out, versus the Julie that has more of a boxed corner, you're going to measure the width minus 2 inches. And 2 inches has just worked for me with this pattern before. Then you're going to cut the bottom off. So lay your fabric down. You want to cut this entire piece, then you're going to cut the bottom off plus an extra inch. You're going to cut an extra inch on this side and an extra inch on this side. So when you're through, your pattern for your pocket or your divider is going to essentially be, if we fold this up, it's going to be this section minus an inch, and an inch. Don't worry about taking an inch off the top, because we are actually going to do some sewing up there, and by doing the sewing we're going to be taking seam allowances. It'll take away that inch for you already. Now if you're doing the Julie, it's going to be a little bit different. The bottom will be the same. You're going to essentially cut off this bottom piece less an inch, but because your sides fold in, you're going to want to fold the side in and then take your inch off of each side. Make sense? Okay. So in addition to 4 pocket pieces, I also cut a big, large zipper overlay. This is exactly the same width as the top of the lining. Okay. So you're going to cut it 2 inches wide by the length of the top of your lining piece. Then you're going to measure 3/4 of an inch in from each side. So that's each short side and both long sides, and you're going to cut out the middle. And this is, like I said, exactly like a zipper overlay. It's just big, long. And then of course you need a zipper that's going to fit in there and a zipper pull, and that's it. So I went ahead and constructed a Fairhaven. Now this Fairhaven is not completed. There's nothing inside yet. Here's the exterior, and I actually made my handles a little bit longer because when I flip these handles up, I want to put a rivet here just for a little added interest. This is a gorgeous Italian leather that almost looks like it's been crinkled. It's really pretty. And I ended up using foam on this bag because this leather did not like the heat press. I put a little sample of it on there, put some Decaville light on it, and it changed color, and it wasn't pretty. So I ended up using foam in this one. The other thing I did was I constructed the lining. Now, where I'm at on the lining is I have my 2 lining pieces. Okay, I've got one side here with a slip pocket, got my snaps in there, have my upper lining already on, and I have my other side with a zipper pocket and another small little slip pocket and a little key fob. So at this point in the pattern, I would typically be sewing the sides together, the sides of the lining. And then we would be putting the lining inside the bag and continuing on. But what we need to do is construct this zipper pocket first, and we're going to add it right in. And I say zipper pocket, it's really a center divider. Okay? So I'm going to face the camera down. We're going to take a look at how to do this. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is to take 2 of these pocket pieces and just set them aside. We're going to be dealing with 2 of them first. And we want to put the zipper overlay on these pieces. So I'm going to take one piece and put a little bit of double-sided tape. You can either put this on the top of the pocket, on the overlay. I'm just going to put it on top of the pocket. Okay. Now from here, we want to peel the backing off the tape. And we're going to lay this overlay right side down on this pocket. I'm just going to lay this down right on top of that double-sided tape. Now you could clip this if your machine does not like double-sided tape. No worries. Okay. We're going to stitch this. We're just going to use a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Put double-sided tape on top of this, and that way we can get it all in one stitch. I like to use the double-sided tape because it holds the overlay a little bit better, I think. Oops. There's no shifting, and if the leather wants to stretch at all, then there's not nearly as much stretching. So you could do this in one step. I'm going to go ahead and lay this down. And what I mean is we'll do the next one in one step, where we attach this and just do one seam. Okay. We will go ahead and stitch this on. Now I'm going to stitch it from this side where I can see my stitching. Make sure I stitch either on top of or just beyond it. Okay, so now let's turn this so that it's right sides together, or excuse me, wrong sides together. And just kind of finger press this open. I am going to put a few clips on the sides here. Hold it down. Go ahead and clip all the way around. We're going to base this close. So we're going to top stitch this from the right side. And when you do this, you are going to want to just kind of slightly pull this so that it lays flat. And essentially what we're doing is we're capturing the front part of the pocket, the lining part of the pocket, and then the seam allowance right in between. So I'm just taking a few stitches at a time and then making sure everything's pulled nice and tight before I continue on. Okay, so there we have everything top stitched. This was the right side and we have the wrong side. So now I'm just going to baste around this pocket to hold it closed. Okay, and we have one side done. So I'm just going to repeat this whole process for the other side. So I have my double-sided tape already on. Just going to peel the backing off the tape. Go ahead and put it right side down on the zipper overlay. Making sure I match up my edges. And now let's peel the backing off the other side and place it on the wrong side of the overlay. Okay, so we're going to stitch this on using a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and as you saw this time, instead of doing 2 lines of stitching, the zipper or the main part and then the lining, we're doing it all in one. If you don't have double-sided tape, you might want to go ahead and take the 2 lines of stitching, because the double-sided tape does hold it a little bit better than the clips do. And open this side up. Let's go ahead and clip it. So again, as I stitch, I'm just going to pull the overlay over and make sure that the seam is laying nice and flat. Okay, once you have that done, you can go ahead and baste the rest of the pocket closed. And so this is what we have so far. So add your zipper pull, and now it's time to center the zipper in the opening. So again, use a little bit of double-sided tape to hold this down, and you do want to try to use double-sided tape this time, because you won't be able to clip this. It'll be very difficult. So I'm going to put tape down both sides. Move this down. And I am using a number 5 zipper here. You could certainly do this with a number 3 zipper, you just want to cut your opening a little narrower. So right now I have a 1/2 inch opening. Probably going to want a 1/4 inch opening instead of a 1/2 inch. Okay, so from here we will just peel, backing off the tape, and center this as best we can. I'll do one side first, and at this point it doesn't matter which way you put your zipper yet. That'll be more when we put the lining inside the bag. So I'm going to lay the zipper down and then put the wrong side of the overlay right on top and kind of centering it on the zipper. And this is a long overlay, so just kind of take your time with it. Okay, peel the backing off the other side. And lay this side down. Looks pretty good. I'm going to make sure my pole is within the opening here so I don't forget to do that and have it on the wrong side. Okay, there we go. So now you're going to stitch around the inside of this opening 1/8 of an inch from the edge. So this is a raw edge here on the leather or faux or whatever it is that you're using. Now I did not back stitch. I'm going to go ahead and pull my threads through and we're going to tie them off in the back. And then we're going to make sure we start or stop in the same hole we started in. Pull this through. And then tie that knot. And then I'm just going to singe the end of these threads to make sure that doesn't come apart. Okay. So from here, I'm going to peel the zipper back as far as I can and go ahead and cut that off. Because we don't want any of the zipper in the seam allowance. Do that on both sides. And then just run a lighter over that to make sure it doesn't come all apart in any way. Okay, so easy enough so far. We're going to fold this in half now. And when you fold it in half, you're just going to fold this overlay right here in half and match up the side seams here. Okay, so that will make the zipper be right on top. And we're going to put a few clips. Now the great thing about adding a center divider is you can put pockets on here, either on the outside or the inside, if you want to add pockets for sunglasses or whatever you would like, zipper pockets, and it really is going to give you a lot more room. So I'm going to go ahead and baste everything closed. It's just going to make it a little easier when we go to sew everything together that we're not missing any ends. So I'm going to start here and back stitch up to the top of the overlay and then come on down and go all the way around. And I'm just using about 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. This is just to close this up. Giant pocket. Okay, so from here, we're just going to slide it in between our two layers of lining. And you want to put it below the actual upper lining. You don't want to have it up higher than that. So I'm going to put it about 1/2 inch below that upper lining, just to give myself a little bit of extra room. I'm going to line up my sides. I'm not going to worry about the bottom right now. So that's what we have. And now we're going to lay the other side of the lining right on top. Match up the sides. Match our upper lining like we normally would. Making sure these are good to go. Do that first. Okay, then clip on down. We're going to do this exactly the same way we would for any other bag at this point. And what I mean by that is we're going to sew the sides, and then we're going to put the lining inside the bag. We're going to pull it through and stitch the bottom all at once. Okay? So let's go ahead and do the sides first. I'm going to start right at the upper lining so that I know that matches. I'm going to back stitch up and then come on down. Make sure my zipper head is out of the way. And I'm going to repeat for the other side. Because you figure we've got now 4, well actually we have 6 layers of lining here. So trim that back. And I do not want to go all the way to the top because I want to be able to open my seam allowance when I sew all of this together. All right. So there we have it so far. We have this center divider here, and then the rest of our bag. So now comes the fun part. I'm going to put all of it together. So it doesn't really matter which side of the divider you put the bag on, as long as you can fit it in. So I'm just going to slide it. Let's see if I can get it on this side. I did mark the center of the top of my bag. So let me go ahead and clip. And from here, we're just going to sew like we normally do. I'm going to open up the side seam allowance. We'll line up these centers. So once everything is clipped, I'm going to stitch around the top using a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Okay, we have all that stitched, so we're just going to pull the bag out. And then fold it in, just like we normally would. All this is the same. Go ahead and stuff that lining inside. get it pushed all the way in. And then before we sew up the bottom, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to top stitch. Okay, so the bag is now top stitched, and you can see we have our center divider in here, but it's not attached yet, and we still need to close up the bottom. So we are going to do this just like we would any other bag. We're going to unzip the zipper pocket inside. We are going to open up the pocket. We're going to reach inside, pull out the bottom of the bag, as well as the bottom of the divider pocket. So once you pull your pocket out, once you pull the bottoms of the lining out and the divider, you're going to line up the centers. So if you did not mark the center of the bottom of the divider and the bottom of your lining panels, make sure you do that. Line up the centers. And what's going to happen is you're going to see your pocket is longer than your actual lining. So, right now that's fine, because what's happening is that the lining, let's see if I can show this to you. You know, we need to box our corners. So it's kind of forming the box already as we bring the bottoms of the lining up to meet the center or the divider. Okay, so we're going to stitch the bottom starting at where the lining starts. At the end of the pocket, and we're just going to stitch all the way across the bottom. So this is a little bit strange, but this is how it all kind of comes together. So let's see, and I am going to use a 1/2 inch seam allowance here. Okay, so as you box your corners, you're going to see that you have some of your main or your divider here kind of between the base of the lining and the side seam. So just gonna stick your finger in there and open that up as well, and then clip. So see how that's, I'm just going to open that up as well and clip. So I'm not only boxing my corners, I'm boxing my divider. All right, I'm going to do the same thing on this side. And on this side, I don't have as much. Obviously, didn't center it very well. So I'm just going to do the best I can to lay that flat, to have that lay flat. It just didn't quite do very well there. So you see how little I have here and how much I had on the other side. It's going to be hard for me to open that up, but I'm going to do the best I can. I mean, this is going to be at the bottom of the bag, where you already have a bunch of fabric coming together. So It's not that big of a deal if you have a little tuck down there. But I can't even get my finger in there. Here, let's see if I can. There we go. You might want to stick your turning tool or the edge of your awl down in there to get it to open up. Okay, and then we're just going to box the corners like normal. Going to trim that back a little bit. You are going to have some bulk right there where it all comes together. Make sure all that's trimmed off. And then stitch the other side. Alright, we're going to trim this down and then we're just going to finish off like normal. We're going to go ahead and stuff this back into the bag and then stitch the pocket closed. So let me put this in. Make sure everything looks okay. Which it does. I'll show it to you in just a minute. Let me close this pocket. So I'm just going to fold this over under about a 1/2 inch and clip it. We'll stitch it closed and we will be good to go. All right, let's put that pocket in. Hook the corners down real well. Close that pocket up. And just like that, we have our center divider in our bag. So I'm going to try to give you a top view of this. So here's the bag from the top view. So you have your center divider here. Of course, you have your normal slip pocket, zipper pocket on one side. The other side you have slip pocket. And then here in the middle is your center divider with a zipper top. So you've got a lot of room in this bag. The divider is connected at the bottom. See here? It's connected, both sides. So adding that divider gives you a lot more room.